Hi everyone, this is Robert from Afterburner Comics. I'm the writer, the artist, and the publisher of Afterburner, Tales of the Cool and the Wicked, and also Dr. Intrepid. Today I'm going to talk to you about the movie Supergirl. I had a chance to see Supergirl last night, and first of all, I will say that I really enjoyed the movie, and so that's the good part of it. One thing that I would like to mention is that something that I see happening in movies a lot these days. I really don't like it. I really did not like it in the Supergirl movie, and that was the way that, just the way that they were throwing shade at Superman, and basically it came off as being demeaning and degrading to the character. And it's not cool, it's not hip, and quite frankly, it's got to stop. The fans are already being vocal about it, and the fans are going to start to vote with their money. So this whole thing of trashing on Superman in the movies, and having the dog pee on his newspaper and things like that, yeah, that shit's got to stop. That being said, on to the movie. If you scroll down on my video feed here, you'll see, I guess a couple of months ago, or maybe a year or so ago, I did a review of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and that was a 12-issue, I guess, miniseries or maxi-series written by Tom King. And for the most part, I enjoyed that that take by Tom King. Tom King, he runs kind of hot and cold with me, just on sometimes how he handles his characters and his approach. But I felt that in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, he did an acceptable job. And much of the storyline from this movie pulls from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's very reminiscent of the movie True Grit, whether we're talking about the old John Wayne version of it or the more recent, I believe that was Jeff Bridges. It had Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon in it. But basically a young girl, her family has been killed by this notorious group of notorious outlaws, and now she's seeking revenge, but she knows that she doesn't have the abilities to handle this on her own, so she needs to go out and find a champion to carry out her mission for her. And in this case, in this movie, the young girl Ruthie, she wants again a champion to help her on her quest, but one of her stipulations is that she wants to be the individual that delivers the killing blow to the leader of this group of pirates or bad guys. I think in this movie they call them the Briggards. But Ruthie's goal is to track these guys down and basically get revenge for her family. And along the way, in this quest, she chooses Supergirl to just to be her champion and to help her on her quest with this. Now, my introduction to Kara Zor-El, to Supergirl, occurred back in her early 1970s version, and that's when Supergirl was, she was wearing the leather moccasins, or she was wearing the mod boots, and she had the really cool gold belt that looked like like coins or something, kind of like the Black Widow's belt, those gold coins. Very mod, very, very hip. And so that was my first introduction to Supergirl. And so for me, Supergirl has always been kind of this counterculture individual. She was never, from my perspective, and from my exposure to Supergirl, she was never a superhero from an ideological standpoint in the way that Superman was a superhero, or the same ideals. And she should not be the same individual as Superman. Supergirl actually remembers Krypton, or at least she remembers, depending on on the version of what we're talking about, she at least remembers Argo, and she remembers the language, she remembers the culture, she remembers the heritage that is internal to her being, to her essence, to what she is. And her coming to Earth and having all of that ripped away from her, you know, her culture, her heritage, her understanding, her language. She's got no one else to speak her native language to. Yeah, in later issues, you know, Clark is basically speaking English as a second. I'm sorry, he's speaking Kryptonian as a second language, but he's not a native Kryptonian speaker. So she's had all of these things taken away from her, and just like everyone else, different individuals react to stress, or they react to situations according to their own experiences. And that's one thing that I try to keep in mind when I look at portrayals of Supergirl. Now, as far as the movie itself, I didn't go into it looking at this movie as a superhero movie. And I'm glad I did not, because it gave me the opportunity to see Supergirl, the movie, as a science fiction adventure. And that's how I viewed it. I viewed it from that standpoint. I viewed it from the standpoint of a sci-fi protagonist, let's say you know, a Flash Gordon type protagonist or something like that, that just happened to have the ability to tap into superpowers. And from that standpoint, I think the movie was successful as far as being a science fiction adventure. Yes, we can make the argument that the movie was formulaic, but you know what? Once you read books like, let's say, Joseph Campbell and The Hero with a Thousand Faces, once you understand the hero's journey, once you look at, let's say, what's the guy that does Rick and Morty? Is it Dan Howard? Once you look at the, I believe his is called, oh my goodness, what's it called? The Circle Story? I think that's what his is called. But either way, once you understand these things, or read something like a book called Save the Cat, once you start reading things like that and getting into the mythos, this monomythos of the hero's journey, then you start to realize, guess what? It's all the same story. The key point is how the story is told and how well the story, the character or the protagonist interacts within the story. And if you're going to do a three act story arc, how they follow through that story arc. I believe that Kara, in this case, did go through her story arc, and whether the basic story itself was formulaic or not, I think that the character was able to fit within the context of that story arc. And now, as far as whether she was heroic, yeah, I think she was heroic. Again, I don't think that the movie, or I didn't take the movie as being a straightforward superhero movie. And by the same, in the same view, I didn't see Kara as being your typical, punch him up, go and stop the bank robber kind of type of superhero. The character is far more complex than that. Again, she was dealing with a lot of shit. Seriously. Kara's seen a lot of stuff. She's dealing with the loss of her family, the loss of her culture, and on the one hand, you can compare this to, say, like a character like, let's say, Bruce Wayne, and in comparison also, the character of Ruthie. All three of those characters, whether it's Kara, whether it's Bruce Wayne, or whether it's Ruthie, they've got this tragic occurrence in their past where they lost their family, and each one of them deals with that with that tragedy to their own strengths. For Bruce, whatever internal drive that Bruce had, he was able to use that and his resources to travel the world and learn how to fight and learn how to do all these detective things, and then become this force, this force of nature, a human mortal. A mortal just became something beyond beyond his station as being a human being. He just became this legend. For Ruthie, similar situation. She lost her family. Her father was a great not a swordsman, but he forged swords. What's it called, like a blacksmith. So he was a sword maker, a weapons maker. And all she had left of her family, or to really kind of to remember her family by, or to kind of connect with her father, was a sword that he made, and so that's what she's carrying throughout the movie. But as far as how she dealt with that trauma, or with what happened to her, she didn't have the resources of Bruce Wayne. She didn't have that personality that Bruce Wayne had. So all she had was the drive to go out and find someone to help her carry out her mission. She was still very focused on what she was doing. Was she naive? Yes, she was naive. She's young. She's not a hero. She's not an adventurer. So she was bound to not be able to read the room when she went into a situation. Kara, on the other hand, depending on the version that you're familiar with, and like I say, I'm familiar with the 1970s version of Kara. Basically, that version of Supergirl that ran from, let's say, early 1970s until her death in a absolute blaze of glory in Crisis on Infinite Earths #7. If you have not read Crisis on Infinite Earths #7, check that shit out. Supergirl puts hands on the Anti-Monitor. Does she go down? Yeah, she's out. I mean, he takes her out. But that storyline, I believe the art was by George Perez. That storyline, that issue, gives you a great encapsulation on what it means to be a hero, what it means to put everything on the line when you know you cannot come back, when you know that's the final ticket. Supergirl puts everything on the line in that issue, and she pays for it. And I believe that was, maybe 1985, Crisis on Infinite Earths #7. But anyway, check that book out. I digress. Back to Supergirl, the movie. The reason I said all those things, to kind of circle back to this, is that Kara had a different way of dealing with what had happened to her as far as the things that she lost. And part of that was in this stage, it's her 23rd birthday, and just within the context of the story, in her communications with Clark or with Superman, it's evident that she's been spending a lot of time off planet, off Earth, in space. So my take on it is that she's trying to come to grips with things. She's trying to sort her life out, trying to sort herself out, trying to sort out her place in life. And because of just whatever her personality, she does it by, drinking and not really partying, but just kind of drinking and removing herself from that Earth environment. And, it's just her and her dog, Crypto, out in space. And there's some scenes in the movie where they show Argo, which is Kara's, original city that she came from on Krypton, and Argo was saved temporarily from the fate of Krypton. But it shows her finding Crypto, or Crypto finding her there, and that dog was placed in the spaceship that took her from Argo to Earth. So Crypto is basically the only being, or the only individual that can kind of understand or relate to what Kara's going through. In some ways, Superman or Clark or Kal-El, in some ways he understands, but Kal-El didn't grow up on Krypton. He has no first-hand knowledge or what it's like to breathe in that air, to be immersed in that culture. He does not understand that. Does he have a good heart? Yes, he's got a good heart. And the writers need to understand that. The fans need to understand that. Superman is not a Boy Scout. There's a reason why Superman behaves and conducts himself in the way that he does. And I'll get to that in just a moment. When we get toward let's say the third act of the Supergirl movie, where Kara and Ruthie have finally kind of come face to face with the bad guys. And Lobo makes a couple of appearances also in the movie. I don't know, man. I've never really been a big Lobo fan. I get it. I get that people do like him, but I don't know. I don't get it. I read the Lobo books. I read the Simon Bisley books, and I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he is what he is. I've got no feelings or no opinions against the character, or nothing, any favoritism toward the character. If there's a story there and he's in it, okay, I'll read it. But that's kind of what I brought into the film when I saw him on film. Did Jason Momoa do a great job with Lobo? Sure, he looks the part. That's pretty much all you can ask. But once Kara and Ruthie are actually engaging with the bad guys, that part of the movie kind of drug out a bit for me there. There could have been a bit more compressed storytelling there. There is a point where throughout the movie, Kara's been wearing, her off-duty space clothes, and there's a point where Ruthie brings her Supergirl suit. Kara puts that suit on and really locks into the mission of what she's doing. And straight up, Kryptonians are frightening once they start going all out. And that is a big reason why we see the version of Superman that we see, and you get folks saying, oh, Superman's just a big blue Boy Scout. He's too nice. There's a reason why that guy has to be like that. Because the opposite of that is absolute destruction. There's no stopping someone like that. It's Godzilla with a cape. There's just no stopping him. He's a absolute force of not just nature, just he's a cosmic force. So he has to be in control. He has to be able to think about the greater good of people. And also, that's on the one side of things. But also, we have to look at Kal-El's upbringing, and thank goodness the parents that he had. So that is a huge part of why that character is like that. And this ties into one of the closing moments with Supergirl, in that throughout the movie, Supergirl, even though she basically got called into work on her day off, so she's pretty grumpy, and she's got a hangover, and she's got to wear her sunshades because she's been up all night. Hey, I can relate. But even with all of those things going on throughout the movie, she keeps telling Ruthie, hey, this thing that you've got going on, this goal that you've got going on, yeah, we'll catch this pirate and bring him to justice, but she keeps telling Ruthie that Ruthie's plan to kill him won't solve Ruthie's problem. It won't cure what's inside of her. It will just it will just be something that haunts her, that taints her forever. And at the end of the movie, there is a point where Ruthie has the opportunity to take the guy out, take the lead bad guy out, and Kara talks her down. She says, she talks her down, and she tells Ruthie to walk away before Ruthie changes her mind. But at that point, Kara also takes, this symbolic sword that Ruthie had, and basically, Kara does the hard work. She does what Ruthie wanted done, or what Ruthie wanted to do, and Kara takes that burden on herself. So, once again, a very complex character that we've got here with Supergirl. Not the same as Superman. Superman is complex also, but her ideology is very different from Clark, and rightfully so. And to me, it is for the betterment of the character. It's for the betterment of the character because it portrays how different individuals handle a relatively similar situation, and also it highlights the reason why someone with Superman's type of power, or Supergirls with that level of power, why they need to have I'm not sure what the correct word is here, the correct phrasing, but a high moral standard, or they have to take the higher ground every time, because the alternative to that is just this slippery slope of abuse of power. So that's my take on the movie. Some folks may have different takes, and they're entitled to that. I guess a lot like Supergirl, I'm bringing in a different set of experiences and ideals when viewing situations like this. So, I respect the other folks' opinions on the movie, and that's what I saw. So thank you guys for watching with me. I know this has been a long video. As I said before, my name is Robert Stewart. I am the writer, artist, and publisher of Afterburner Comics. And Afterburner is kind of a sci-fi space adventure in itself. So if you'd like to see more of my work, you can check me out on Instagram at Afterburner Comics, and at my website, afterburnercomics.com. Thank you. Talk to you later.